We are in 2021, and humanity has achieved a new exploit in our Martian exploration, with on the screen the amazing and smooth landing of Perseverance, the last rover of 1 ton from NASA, filled up with plenty of scientific instruments. But how do we get here? What was the early spacecraft sent to the Red Planet to prepare the future trip of Perseverance? Let's go back in the early years of space history to see where all of this began. That's why today we're going to talk about Mariner 4, the first spacecraft to achieve a flyby on Mars. In fact, our mission was the fourth in a series of spacecraft intending for planetary exploration in a flyby mode. That means orbiting very close to a planet to take pictures of Earth's surface or to do some remote experiments. And that's exactly what Mariner 4 achieved for the first time on another planet. And on July 14 and 15, 1965, exactly 2028 days after its launch, it takes the first picture of the surface of another planet during its closest flyby with a minimal distance of 6,118 miles with the surface of Mars. Some word on the Mariner space program, conducted by the American Space Agency NASA, to explore other planets than the Earth or the Moon. In total, between 1962 and 1973, the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory built 10 robotics interplanetary probes named Mariners, like the program, and launched them to different targets in our solar system. Venus for 3 times, Mars 4 times, Mercury 1 times. The name of the program patterned after nautical terms to convey the impression of travels to great distance and remote lands. Some word on the launcher. Indeed, to put something in space, you will need a giant quantity of energy condensed into one main vehicle, or mostly called a rocket. For all of the launcher of the Mariner program, NASA used the Atlas LV-3 Angena D, precisely, an ancestor of the famous Atlas V, which sent, like you know, the Apollo mission to the Moon. 118 feet high, 16 feet wide, and a weight of 341,000 pounds, formed by 2.5 main stage and 2 little boosters attached to the side of the first stage. And finally, the payload, under the ferry, on the top of the rocket. For the booster, 1040 kN of thrust during 134 seconds. For the first stage, 300 kN during 5 minutes. And finally, for the last stage, 71 kN during 265 seconds. So, let's turn back on our mission, which took off with these rockets from Cape Canaveral in Florida, launch pad LC-12, the November 28, 1964, at 2 hours 22 p.m. UTC. Like we said earlier, Mariner 4 wasn't a rover like Perseverance or a crewed mission like the Apollo program, for example. It was a scientific space probe, in fact, a little remote space laboratory. So, like any other space laboratory or scientific laboratory, Mariner 4 carried many scientific tools and instruments to do some research directly on site, directly into space. On board we had a helium magnetometer, measures the magnitude and other characteristics of the interplanetary and planetary magnetic fields. A ionization chamber, or Ginger counter, measures the charged particle intensity and the distribution in interplanetary space and in the vicinity of Mars. A trapped radiation detector measures the intensity and direction of low-energy particles. A cosmic ray telescope measures the direction and energy spectrum of proton and alpha particles. A solar plasma probe measures the very low energy charged particles from the Sun. A cosmic dust detector measures the momentum, distribution, density, and direction of cosmic dust. And finally, and obviously, a television camera to capture the closest picture as possible of the surface on Mars. To power all of this technical stuff, Mariner 4 was equipped by 4 large solar panels, each one composed by 28,224 solar cells, which could provide 310 watts of power directly to the equipment of the probes, or to recharge silver-zinc battery. For the telecom part of our spacecraft, this consisted of a dual C-band transmitter and a single radio receiver, which together could send and receive data, control information, and analytics from and to the control center on Earth, via the low and the high gains antenna on the top of the probes. Finally, in the technical part of Mariner 4, we found also 3 gyroscopes for the attitude control, 4 sun sensors for the positional information in space, 12 cold nitrogen gas jets used like RCAs for the attitude control too, and so an elliptical height and low gain parabolic antenna was mounted on the top of the frame of the spacecraft. The first and main goals of the mission was, like the rest of the Mariner programs, to discover and, like we say, to do planetary exploration in a flyby mode. That means orbiting very close to another planet in our solar system to be able to collect precise information about the composition of the atmosphere, the soils, the geologic structures, and obviously to take the first picture of them, and to transfer all of this data back onto the scientific on Earth. And so, for a particular Mariner's mission, Mariner 4 performed the first successful flybys of the planet Mars, returning the first close-up picture of the Martian surface. It captures the first image of another planet ever returned from space. A first step in a long and not a complete research of the scientist community about a possible life on this red, cratered and dead planets. Other mission objectives were to perform fields and particle measurements in interplanetary space in the vicinity of Mars, and to provide experience in and knowledge of the engineering capabilities for interplanetary flight of long-duration trip into space. Here again, we saw the very beginning of the future Martian race, which became today the heart of all of our space program around the globe. Who is going to be the first nation to put a human on Mars, or the first to find life on these dead planets? I mean, maybe trace of life. To conclude, today's Mariner 4 may still be adrift in Martian orbit, but it has surely already fallen back and crashed on Mars' surface, pulled by its gravity. But nobody knows, because on December 21, 1967, exactly 1,118 days after it launched, the communication with Mariner 4 shut down.